right on target here today. I want to, if you'd like to tweet or Instagram during the panel, please make a note of the handle, so when each person introduces themselves, they'll let you know what their handles are. So we're going to start out with introductions and go down the road here. Start with Jameela.
Hi everybody, good morning. I am Jameela Jackson. I'm a PR professional. I'm also a digital founder. I have another position as a community leader also with Startup Grind Hollywood. We're powered by Google, and that works closely with startups and entrepreneurs, and basically bringing together the ecosystem in Hollywood. So I have a few different, things that I work on, and I'm happy to be here this morning talking to you guys about them.
Erin?
Hi, Erin Kapczynski, and my specialty is marketing, traditional and most recently digital. So I have in my career run marketing teams for multi-billion-dollar enterprises as well as startups that were like 29 people. Mostly in the media and technology spaces, so I have worked with clients such as Google, Microsoft, Viacom, CBS, PBS, etc. Along my career path. And most recently, I am actually consulting, and my practice helps similar companies from really early stage startups to kind of more mature companies. And in a nutshell, what I do for them is, of course, marketing related, but first and foremost, I help them tell their stories and attract and keep audiences, whether that's B2B or B2C.
Heather?
I'm Heather Blair, and I love people like Erin that help marketing people that help salespeople, because that's my background is sales, about 30 years worth of it. And I've taken my sales efforts to starting up companies and bringing them to market and bringing them global. So I also start with startups and work on the way up. So my personal company is called We Market For You, and that is spelled like the French way, O-U-I, Market For You. And that is basically a consulting company, and usually firms will bring me in, tell me they have a product, service, or solution that they'd like to bring to market, and I do that. My Heather Blair Consulting teaches people how to do what I do. Take a little time. I gave little Vicky a little taste of that in the parking lot yesterday to give her a little how you should go about selling yourself. And then most recently I was picked up by a company in the UK to start a new company called Extended Cinema, where I'm going to take them into the cinema market where they've been in theme parks only.
I'm Natasha Miller. I am the founder and owner of Entire Productions, based in San Francisco with an office in Los Angeles and London. We're an entertainment and event production company, which I started because, I started accidentally, because I'm a jazz vocalist and a classical violinist and was being booked a lot, and instead of turning down jobs, I started sending out other talent. I'm also actually in the very early stages of writing my memoir of my crazy, incredible story, which I'm very excited about. And I would love to be helpful to you guys in any way possible. My business has been around for 18 years, and I've grown it to 0 to, we'll close the end this year, $5 million. Very exciting.
Great. Jen?
Hi, I'm Jen Proctor. I'm CEO of a company called Cultivated Entertainment. And what we do is we we're a full-service talent consulting firm. So we position talent with television shows, gigs, brands, all of the above. We work with all type of talent, from influencers to celebrities, athletes, experts, anything and everything in between. I also host a podcast called Cultivated Conversations. That's all about women entrepreneurs and sharing our stories and our struggles and all of the above. So excited to be here.
Did you guys give your handles? I didn't.
Handle.
Your
My handle is at Cultivated Entertainment. So slide into our DMs.
That's for Instagram.
Yeah.
And
Mine is at Natasha Miller SF and at Entire Productions Instagram.
And mine is Heather Blair 64.
both on Twitter and Instagram. Erin?
Mine is at Erin K217, and that's Twitter.
Okay.
For Startup Grind, it's at Startup Grind Hwood, and personally, Velvet Rope Life on Instagram, at Velvet Rope Life.
Okay, thank you. So these are heavy-duty Instagram people, which we'll be hearing about more later. Up to now, we always just gave our Twitter handles. We made a shift here, so it's going to be interesting to hear about. I am a co-founder of the Courage Group, and I do personal branding coaching with that group. I have a website called Boomer Tech Talk, where my passion is healthy longevity and helping boomers to help their parents live better. I lived for 22 years in Japan, where I was CEO of Coors, the beer company. I ran Club Med and Barilla there, and I also have, by the way, I lived in Japan. Now I live in Kauai. To explain why I'm dressed this way, we always wear flowers, so. And I have my hobby site. I have a film site where I tell you what I like on streaming at tvreview.co. So the first thing that I want to talk about is branding, very briefly on differentiation. And Jen, you said something to me interesting when we were doing our talks before preparing for the panel, that you're really not stuck with your brand. So I want you to talk about that.
Well, I think I think when it comes to branding, the thing that you really have to hone in on is what exactly it is that you are and who exactly your audience is. I know that sounds trite, but if you have a business that's in fashion, but you're making elastic waist pants, you're probably not going to be targeting fashion weeks in the big cities around the world. Like, you need to kind of hone in, like, what is your brand and who is your audience for that specific type of demographic. So I think that's the number one thing, is knowing who you are, who your audience is, and then most importantly, what is going to separate you from everyone else. On any given day, there's a zillion people doing probably exactly what you're doing. And so it's, honing in on who you are and who your business is and what is going to make, what's going to differentiate you from everyone else out there.
Erin?
Yeah, so to kind of almost recap and add to that, I agree with that completely. So I've done brand launches and rebrands for companies that were quite mature, and also for startups. And the four questions we always ask as a starting point is, like, who is your audience? That's really the number one. And by the way, the wrong answer is everybody. Your audience is never everybody. That is like, you're setting yourself for failure if that's what you answer. And then who's your competition, really? That's like, you want to put yourself in a box and really understand who it is that's out there that you're competing against. And if you don't put yourself in that box, when you're out there, people are going to put you in the box, and it may not be the right one. So just go ahead and identify what field you're playing in. And then the third thing is, which is exactly what you just heard, which is, what is it that you can offer that nobody else can? So that's your differentiator. And then really my fourth question is that one thing valuable to the audience that you're reaching?
Great. And when we talk about personal branding, that relates to selling your business. Jameela, you had something like that.
Yes, I know that when you're working with several different entities, sometimes, as I just mentioned, I do Startup Grind and I do PR, and then I have a digital media company as well. I think that a lot of times it can be difficult to realize that you need to differentiate, certain things, but also keeping in mind that you are a extension of all of your brands. So, not only should you have your business, handles like we talked about, but have a personal one, because everything is not going to be appropriate to put on your business page, but you also want to let people know who you are. Working with a lot of startups and a lot of investors and venture capitalists, they've all told me that, yes, they're buying into your business idea, they're buying into, the concept of what it is and the ROI and fixing a problem and all of that, but one of the most important things that a lot of founders lose sight of is that they want to know who you are. So let people know who you are, because they're also not just buying your business, but they are buying into you. So if they're, find something that they can relate to you, if you're a crazy cat lady, or if you have just, something that people can gravitate towards, whatever it is about you that's special and unique, don't forget to, let that be known and share that with everybody, but on your personal page.
Heather?
About being
You.
About being unique. Okay, so I was explaining to Linda when we spoke about me learning how to do sales. My first company sent me to sales seminars, and I went to see a guy named Tom Hopkins. And Tom Hopkins says, mirror the people that you're with. So if they talk fast, you talk fast. If they talk slow, you talk slow. And I got really good at it. And I would see 5 to 10 people a day, and I was really good at meeting them and mirroring them. Then I threw a party, and 50 people were in the room, and I didn't know who to be. And I felt disingenuous to a lot of them. So I thought, I'm gonna have to really figure out who is Heather. And then I'm gonna have to be that person and realize that some of them are now not going to like me because I'm gonna be different than the person that they initially thought I was. And when I honed in who I was, I'm a little crass, I got a pretty softy sense of humor, and that's great. But then the people that are my friends and my close confidants and my business associates love the fact that they can always count that everything I say is authentic me.
Great. Instagram. So how many people here are using Instagram stories? Okay, pretty good crowd. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understood how that worked and what it took to be able to swipe up and so forth. And Natasha and Jen are both way heavy into this, so I wanted both of them to explain how their companies are using Instagram and how they have their teams organized around that to make that happen. Can we start with Natasha, please?
We're very heavy Instagram users, and it's wonderful. We have, as you know, offices in 3 different locations. And if you look at our Instagram feed, you're going to see Claire in London at these wonderful, old, beautiful venues doing incredible parties. And then the next swipe, you'll be in LA with Mikal and Paul and Cheyenne, and then maybe in San Francisco, and then maybe in Shanghai, wherever we're doing our events. So it really does make the perception of our business an augmented reality. It makes it look even bigger. And we do save the best of those stories into the little, I'm not sure what it's called. The highlights. So, they do go away in 24 hours, but you can cherry pick what to add to your highlights so they live on forever. So if your target demographic customers coming and checking you out, you can be sure that they're going to see your best work if they're looking at your highlights. And we save the best photographs for actually posting. So we might put something on a story that we would never put in our feed to live on forever. So it's very, you get to have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think one thing with Instagram is, don't consider it this big board where you just kind of throw everything up on there. I think what's really important is honing in on 4 or 5 categories of what things you're going to post, especially if you're doing this on a business account. So for us, I run an entertainment company. So, our 5 categories are, there's a lot of photos of me or my team. Those are kind of like us out and about. We deal with a lot of celebrities, so we do a lot of promotion and photos of celebrities. We do locations or places, things that we like. We also do, inspirational quotes, but anything and everything that we post kind of falls into one of these categories. And because of that, it makes everything seem really cohesive. There's never a post that just seems like it doesn't fit, even though they're never the same, but they all sort of fall under one of these categories. And I think really once we started doing that and honing in on that, our audience really grew and grew very quickly because people know kind of what they're gonna get. They sort of know what to expect, and it's got a very, aesthetically pleasing quality to it. We've worked really, really hard, and Emily on my team has put in hours and hours to really kind of decipher, the coloring and how you choose the photos so that it's, extremely aesthetically pleasing. Because we all know this, we're all guilty of this. You go to a page, if it looks really pretty, you're like, ooh, subscribe, follow. So, if you have a lot of different colors and a lot of different things going on, people don't know you and they don't understand what it is that you're trying to tell. So really trying to keep everything very cohesive is important.
Could you just mention what it takes to be able to get a swipe up to your website?
Yeah, once you get 10,000 followers, then you'll be able to, in stories, you get a swipe up, and you can, not only to your website, but for us sometimes, if we have a new show that's premiering, or an article that we were featured in, we put it to the story and we say swipe up, and you can swipe up, and it takes you right to that website. So, getting to those 10,000 followers is very important, and I will tell you, once you get to 10,000, it's like off to the races, because then the follower, we're getting, hundreds of new followers a day. It's very exciting.
Great. I'd like to go to LinkedIn, the business side of social media, and start with Heather, who loves LinkedIn.
I love LinkedIn. I discovered that in my world that there's a fair amount of diving down that you can do to learn who somebody is. And when I go on LinkedIn, I read all the stories, which becomes a little bit like Facebook now, unfortunately, a little too personal, but it really does work to follow it. And whenever I'm looking to discuss a product or service or solution that I'm selling, I'll go look that person up on LinkedIn. I'll ask if they will accept my contact. I usually write a quick note to kind of let them know why I'm asking to connect with them. If they have a contact email, then I'll go and email them. But I make sure I read every single thing that they've done so that when I speak to them, I know who I'm talking to, and they understand that I respect their achievements. So that's what I use the tool for.
And you even, if you're at an event, you'll sneak a peek at their LinkedIn before you talk to them?
Yeah, a lot of times I'll even see somebody's name badge and I'll snap it, and then I'll go over there and go look them up on LinkedIn, and then I know who they are when I go and approach them at a party.
It's a really good tip. Jen?
Yeah, hands down, I think before any meeting that I have, regardless of who it is, I always take a peek at their LinkedIn. I think, beyond what somebody is doing in their current position, anyone that you're meeting with or trying to do business with, it's really important to understand where they came from, because more likely than not, there's a way that your lives or your jobs or your circumstances have crossed over with one another, and it just makes for better conversation, and people want to do business with people that they can relate to and they can have real conversations with, and I think it also provides you with a little bit more tools in your bag, going into a meeting. But I think also for research purposes, anything and everything that you need as a business owner, just look on LinkedIn. Everything is on there. It's beautiful and brilliant.
It's the new yellow pages.
Yes, it's genius. And you can, even if you're curious about things, or if there's companies that you want to get in bed with, so to speak, or there's people that you want to deal with, you can look at who's in their circle and who are they following and what companies are they're interested in. Really educate yourself on them and their business.
Jameela, you were talking about having reminders.
Yes, absolutely. LinkedIn is so cool for a lot of different things. But on the spot, if you are at an event and you want to exchange information, what I've been doing, and I noticed a lot of other people are doing too, is just saying like, hey, you grab your phone and be like, hey, are you on LinkedIn? And then you can look them up and add them right then and there on the spot. Sometimes people's LinkedIn might not be up to date. Like they may have just gotten a new position and they might not want to put it on there yet, or they may have a new startup they don't have on there or something like that. I'm not listed as founder for Hustle and Glow, which is my digital media startup, on there yet, just because I don't feel that I'm at the point to where I want to put it on there. So a lot of people do that too. So just talking to people and asking if they're on LinkedIn, and you look it up, and then you might say, oh, I don't see this company on there, and then it can open up a conversation for other things. For you guys to start talking about what else they're involved in. And then if you don't do it on the spot, what I think is really cool is like the next day, if they have to walk away, or you don't have time to do it right there, but you can send them a note and say, hey, great conversation last night at the Digital Hollywood, mixer or whatever it was. That was such a great shirt that you were wearing. Or, hey, remember this? Anything that's really cool to make them remember your conversation and remember you. Hey, love taking that tequila shot with you. Whatever it was that you guys did, to have them remember you. I think it's just, cool to put a little note on there so that they can remember who you were.
And never just hit connect. I hate getting this. So-and-so wants to connect with you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, really like a
Definitely
robot.
want it. You definitely want it.
Personalize it. Mm-hmm.
of Facebook?
Well, I'm an old person, so that's old people don't like Facebook. Since I'm in a sales business that has a few competitors, a lot of my things that I sell are very similar to my competition. And I'm trying to get somebody to know me and take the time to understand why maybe working with me is better than my competition. It's not necessarily just that they have the same thing, they don't have me. So I'll go and I'll find a lot of the folks in my industry will ask to link in, I'm not LinkedIn, but on Facebook with me, and then they'll watch and they'll observe and they'll follow stories, and I tell a lot of really, really awful jokes. And then I know I should apologize, but I don't. But they'll pull me aside at a party or a function or a mixer and say, oh my God, I love that joke. They didn't say anything on Facebook. So you all find that over the years, sometimes clients will take years and years and years, then they'll come in and they'll do business with me. And I think it's because they had the time and opportunity to know who I am as an individual, and they'll follow me for years to come.
Great. Demand generation. Do we know what that is? Erin's going to explain it.
So demand generation, we've all probably heard that term kind of bandied about. It's almost like, I think of it as a marketer, I think of it as content marketing. Like demand generation, it's a fuzzy thing. Content marketing, we think we know what it is. It's writing blogs, right? Yes? No, not at all, right? So demand generation really, it's the activity, all the activities surrounding getting leads into your company. So basically, helping sales. So this is what marketing does to bring qualified leads in to help sales. And they can do that through email marketing, that's a huge component. They can do that through paid media buys. They can do that through SEM, which is the paid piece of search engine marketing. They can do that through SEO. They can do that through blogs as well that lead to forms that you fill out, which shows interest. This is like filling out a form is like a person raising their hand going, hey, I'm interested here. But basically, demand generation is similar to lead generation.
Great. Heather, would you like to talk about the symbiotic relationship between sales and marketing?
I sold advertising for about 17 years or so, and I had to work closely with my marketing departments to tell them what trade shows I wanted to be in, what magazines I thought we should join as partnerships with. If I had a website that was out, I would have them put a contact us in the back page and have them explain what it is that they were interested in. I would have them explain what lists I wanted to send out, what email campaigns I wanted. And anytime I've ever had the luxury of a good marketing department like I would with Erin, I found my sales were highly improved because of it.
Moving on to PR tips. I'm sitting next to the PR expert. So could you start off with some PR tips for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, PR is such a broad range.
Obviously, it's 2 minutes.
Right, so I mean, we're talking about personal PR. I guess I can speak to a little bit of both. How many people in here actually know what PR is? Public relations, how it works. That's usually what it is. A lot of people I find will be like, I need PR, and they don't really know what it is. They've never worked with, a publicist before. They're like, well, just somebody told me that I should get PR, or someone told me that I should start doing PR. So I think first and foremost, just to clarify a little bit more, it's the relationship for the most part between you, your brand and the media, and that would be more distinctly described as media relations. So anytime there's anything written about you, blog about you, anytime you're communicating anything with the media, pitching them to be on a show or to be on a panel or to be on in whatever the publication is. So that's just basically the act of communicating with the media. So it's definitely something that a lot of people spend thousands of dollars on every year, but if you're starting out and you want to get some kind of PR buzz going for yourself, I definitely recommend following or doing the research on the journalists that write about what it is that you do, and write about you, looking at the other things that they post about, and saying not just reaching out blindly to people and saying, hey, write about me, you know what I mean? It's definitely about developing the relationship and making sure that they're interested in what you do, and if they're not, hey, how can I get you interested in me and what I do? How can I get posted on that blog? So if you have any friends that are journalists, you definitely want to hit them up and reach out to them, and don't just say, hey, write about me, you know, but get to know actually what they are interested in. You can look at their social media page. You can show up where they're going to be. If they're going to be at, you know, some mixer or something that you know they're going to be at, go there and get to know who the people are that are writing about you, because they really do hold, you know, the story. They hold the power to talk about you and to have you broadcast. But yeah, I don't know.
What kind of mixers do journalists go to?
Well, they'll go to, well, that's another thing, they'll go to a lot of exclusive celebrity events, probably some of the stuff that Jen works on. They go to coffee shops, you know, a lot, and might sound like being a little bit of a stalker, but, you know, like I said, if you look at their social media, you can see maybe they post where they're having coffee at or where they're at, you know, sometimes. So, I mean, going out of your way. Like when I first started in PR eons ago, I really literally would do anything, you know, to try and connect with these people. It's different now because journalists actually used to pick up the phone. You could call them and say, hey, and then they would hang up in your face if they didn't want to talk to you. But now it's a totally different game. It's all about social media, you know, DMing people and just trying to get to know them that way so you can get a response that way.
Because there's a lot of accessibility today, right? Like everyone, regardless of who they are, celebrity, journalist, everyone is accessible. And, you know, I think there's nothing wrong with reaching out to somebody and saying, hey, I'm a big fan of what you do. I'd love to pick your brain. I would love to know more. Can I take you for coffee? Or can I, you know, and sure, what's the worst that's going to happen? They say no. But the best thing that's going to happen is they say yes and get an opportunity to learn and have a conversation with somebody.
So great. Erin, I'd like you to talk about how to get the most out of your PR company.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, so running marketing teams for or organizations, frequently PR falls under my umbrella, and I would, most of the time, even in a small 29-person startup, I had a PR agency that I hired out. Obviously, budgets were very different than some of my other, you know, bigger companies, but still, as a client of a PR company, there are a couple of things that I would always look for. The first and foremost is the relationships. This is the primary reason that I'm hiring a PR company for. They have that relationship, that they've done the grunt work, they know how to reach them. Basically a reporter that I'm looking to reach in my space, usually it has been technology and media, they will take that phone call, or they will answer the DM, or they will engage in some way because there's a relationship there. That's what I'm looking for. And also on the client side, I am looking for, and I know PR and like branding, as far as marketing goes, we think of them as kind of soft sciences, so they're kind of tough to measure traditionally. But I think these days we have such amazing digital tools available to us that even with PR, you can measure that. Yes, you can measure how many mentions you have per month, or you can measure all kinds of things like that. But you could also measure like a change in share of voice. And I've had my PR agency benchmark what my company's share of voice is across the platforms that I've identified against 7 competitors that we have, to see how the share of voice across social platforms changes over time based on the initiatives that we are putting forward, like the thought leadership and other things.
And something about cost. What you can expect for a certain cost.
Okay, so obviously we have 2 PR experts on the panel, so they can, you know, chime in with what their typical practice is. But in my walk, I have done for like a small startup, I've done like a $1,000 a month retainer. To the bigger companies, I've done like a $35,000 a month retainer, which obviously you can expect very different things for those budgets. But my big kind of takeaway is that I haven't typically engaged a PR company unless the company was at a stage where they are ready to invest in this on an ongoing basis. So I really have not recommended, if we're just going to go, hey, we have this launch and we want to do this PR push and we have like 10 grand to put behind it, we're going to do this one splash and then we're going to go away because we can't sustain that spend. I'm going to say, maybe that's not the best thing to do. I mean, there are exceptions, but PR to me is relationship building, and that happens over time. That happens on an ongoing basis, and you need to invest in that.
Thanks. Natasha, you had a great tip on how to get PR yourself.
Yes, well, first of all, Jameela is my publicist, so she has gotten me some great press that I'm very excited about. But on my own, I filled out the information to be on the Inc. 5000 list. It was a big dream of mine to be on that list. So you fill out the form and you never know if you're going to be on the list until the very end. But I got a call from the editor of the magazine because following up, I got an email from them asking me to take a survey to find out what strengths I had as an entrepreneur. Now, most of you and most of us up here probably hit delete on surveys, but it was a Gallup survey, a strength finder survey, which I'm interested in. I took it. I didn't know what was going to come of it, but this is what happened. I was one of 4 people interviewed in this magazine article in the Inc. 5000 magazine that just released 2 months ago. One of 4, and then beautifully, there's a gatefold in the magazine on the page with my picture and my article. So when you open the magazine, it just opens up to that. So that's free. You know, it's free. It took me 10 minutes to fill out that survey. I don't know how many people filled it out, probably a couple thousand, but if you do put in the work, then you can see results.
And just really quick to piggyback off of what she's saying, I would say, obviously every individual who wants to get some PR buzz doesn't have 4 to 35,000. They don't have the big bucks to start out that way. So do everything that you can yourself before you even think about hiring a PR agency. You know, sometimes you can get a freelancer or a consultant who might charge you a little bit less, but if you're bootstrapping and you don't want to spend that money, do it yourself. Do the research. You know, like I was talking about, reach out to these journalists and just say, hey, I saw that article that you wrote on such and such, and I really liked it. Blah blah blah. Let them know you're interested in their work, because that makes the difference. But yeah, do what you can first, yourself.
So, Jameela has brought up networking and finding people, and Heather is a master networker. And so I want Heather to talk a little bit about relationships and her things that she has figured out to do to network effectively.
So how many of you have been to a party or a mixer or a function and you got there and you didn't know a soul? Okay. I have a little thing that I do. I have two separate things that I do that help me meet the people at the party. One of the first things that I did, I started with a new industry, post-production and broadcast, and I didn't know anybody. So I see that there's a party for a group called Group Spots 101. I looked down at this invite to this party, and I see there's a sponsor. So I called the sponsor up, and I said, I'm noticing you're sponsoring a party for Group Spots 101 tonight. May I ask why you're sponsoring it? And the sales guy goes, I have no earthly idea. I said, well, I think I have a foolproof plan. I'm 6 foot tall and blonde. Meet me at the front door. He said, intrigued, I'll be there. So I get to the party and I said, what do you do? What does Thought Equity do? He said, we're an online stock footage company. I said, okay, are you ready to meet everybody? He's like, yeah, I guess. I go, grab your business cards. I grabbed him by the hand. I went around the entire party. I said, excuse me, can I introduce you to Paul from Thought Equity? They're an online stock footage company and they're the sponsor of this evening. They said, okay, and I'm Heather from Point 360. So I got to work him around the entire party, met 250 people, came back with my stack of cards. That became the group of people that I started selling to because I met them all at this one event. Paul then went on to start another company, and he invited me to come work for him at his company. So it was like about a year later. So now he's thinking, I don't think she can make it rain twice. So I go to another party, and it's held at a restaurant, and there's about 150 people in the restaurant. I don't know a soul. So I look around the room, and there's a lot of you out there just standing there with a little drink, clink, 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 and I see this one girl, and I said, you don't know anybody here? And she's like, no. I go, neither do I. And I go, do you like jokes? And she's like, yeah. And I go, I got a really good one. Make sure it was really rotten and dirty, and like 4 people turned around. And then I waited till like half the party was over, so everyone was good and drunk. So I got a little bit louder, had a good arsenal, like 4 or 5 jokes, and by the time the whole party turned around, I said, I'm actually supposed to be networking, so if I can grab your business card, I'll call you tomorrow and tell you what I do. So I just went around and grabbed. So I knew what nobody did. I knew no names, so I couldn't even decipher who were the players. So I got to the office the next day, and of course the boss was like, so how'd you do? And I pull out the cards, the dunk. He's like, oh my God, there was no sponsor to grab to go work the party. And I said, no, I made do with what I had. So I always will encourage somebody, take advantage of who's the sponsor, because it does work, and then you both get to meet everyone. It's literally foolproof.
Jen, you had some networking tips.
Yeah, I mean, I think that networking is of the utmost importance in anything that you can do as an individual or as a business. I mean, from college to internships to jobs to parties to whatever it might be, I think, go into every situation and be open-minded that you may or may not meet somebody that you could potentially work with in the future. And, I think always try to be your authentic self. I think really try to connect with people on a personal level. Sometimes too often, you kind of approach things like, well, what can I get from you and what can they get from me? And, kind of clear all that away and just sometimes try to just be person to person, because when you have an authentic relationship and an authentic connection like that, when you're networking, they're going to remember you. Just like your story, there was really no business, to that. But they remember her as the funny woman that was going around telling jokes. And because of that, if they're it's 3, 6 a year down the road, they'll think of you. You'll be at top of mind. And, I attribute so much of my success to networking and relationships and just, connecting with people.
Great. I want to skip to startup tips from Jameela, who's the startup person. She has the Hollywood.
Yes, we educate, inspire, and connect entrepreneurs because it's a difficult road. It's a lot different from having a 9 to 5, and there's going to be a lot of times when you feel up as a startup founder that you want to quit. So basically, with communities like Startup Grind, it's a Google initiative, and it's put in place to have that community. To have accessibility to the great speakers that we do at our monthly talk to tell you about their journey and tell you why they didn't quit. So, do we have any startup founders here or aspiring startup founders? Okay, yay, awesome. Just curious, where are you guys in your startup journey? Just starting, wanting to start, or
Looking for funding?
Been looking for funding.
Always looking for funding.
Always looking for funding. That's what I'm telling you. Always. I feel like that's an ongoing thing. Okay. Well, I would say, do you guys have communities that you're a part of, or are you surrounding yourself with other startup founders and other entrepreneurs? Maybe. Well, I would say, come to Startup Grind. Okay. We have a monthly talk, we have a monthly event, and if it's not even Startup Grind, look for a meetup, or look for somewhere else where there's other entrepreneurs that you can bounce things off of, and they can tell you, different ideas and things like that. I would definitely say I know mentoring can be tough, finding a mentor. The first time I tried to find a mentor, I was like, I feel like she really dissed me. She kind of rejected me. So if you can find someone who could be your mentor, or someone who can just who's succeeded in what you are trying to do, that would be awesome. If you can't do that, I would just definitely say just make sure that you don't give up on what you're doing. Don't listen to, sometimes, we can want to ask for people's opinion, but you can't always listen to everybody's opinion. You got to follow your heart and be passionate about what you're doing, and I'm assuming that you're passionate about it or you wouldn't be doing it, right? Steve Jobs also said that, you have to really love what you're doing, because otherwise you'd be insane and you would quit doing it because it's crazy. So I'm not really sure. There's so many tips that that I could give, and I probably should wait until after so you guys can ask specific questions, because it's really super broad, like startups, just startup tips. So if you have questions afterwards, I would love to hear them and happy to answer the specific questions.
I'm really sorry. Right after Natasha tells them where they can get a mentor.
Oh, yes. So write this down. It's very important and very cool. This is going to just blow your mind. I have an advisor that spends 5 hours of her time with me a month through Pacific Community Ventures. You can also email me and I can introduce you to them, but you don't need me. So I have an HR advisor, but I have had a financial advisor for business, for forecasting and budgeting. You can have a social media advisor. So corporations pay to have some of their C-level and experts in the company as sort of a nonprofit gesture help entrepreneurs and startup businesses. You're gonna have a leg up. No one knows about this.
Yeah, so another resource for you entrepreneurs out there is it's called Bixel Exchange, and they're basically bixelexchange.com. They're actually funded through the LA Chamber of Commerce, so they are free to you. They are not an accelerator, so they won't take a percentage of your company. They are more like an incubator, and you can go there as well and get a mentor that would specialize in whatever it is that you need. They can help you write a business plan. They can help you get yourself set up for funding, because funding. And they can answer like accounting, obviously any piece of marketing that you want. And all you need to do is you can go on their website, bixelexchange.com, and you can fill out a form and with what your needs are, and they will get back to you.
So the last topic I want to do is how to get a speaking engagement like this one. So I want Jen to address that first, and then Natasha has some great tips.
Yeah, I think beyond, speaking engagements, getting noticed, getting, found or discovered. I think as a person, as a talent, as a business owner, whatever you are, one of the really important tools to have is a Sizzle Reel. And that's something that's short and sweet. It's so accessible to record things. You can create it on your iPhone, but have it be no more than 2 minutes. I'd say a minute to 90 seconds. And it's basically your video resume. Show your personality, show it is that, who you are, what you do, and why, somebody's going to want to choose you. This goes all the way from appearances like this all the way to, when we're casting ginormous television shows. This Sizzle Reel is your opportunity to be you. I think that's the biggest thing, and also knowing your audience, which kind of goes back full circle to to our initial topic. I think that if you want to be a speaker, don't just throw a bunch of pasta on the wall and see what sticks. I think it's really important to hone into the type of audience, the type of viewer, the type of customer or client that you're really looking for and that you're really looking to target. So again, going back to the stretchy pants, if you own a design company that makes stretchy pants, there's a very distinct customer that you're going to go after versus if you're making, designer jeans with diamonds down the side. And I know that's kind of a dumb example, but just to show, like she had said earlier, your customer is not everybody. And so I think really hone in, really try to identify who it is you're trying to reach. And when you're making that Sizzle Reel, think about that person. Think about that customer and that client.
Natasha.
Okay, so I am having part of my Sizzle Reel made right now.
Yes.
And if you want to have that too, you can talk to Daniel, who's in the back, taking video. So I've been speaking in my industry, which is event production, for years without having a Sizzle Reel. So the first tip is be an expert in what you do. And second of all, I'm an expert at something that you wouldn't probably ever assume of me, because I'm a violinist, I'm a vocalist, I have this entertainment production company. But I spoke at Dreamforce, which is attended by 200,000 people. This was a couple of weeks ago. Jameela helped me get that. That was amazing, Jameela. And I spoke about how I configured a Salesforce system for our company that allowed us to do 700 events last year with 2 people in operations. So most of you would be, you probably have something, little nugget of expertise. You need to make sure that you can write about what you speak about, so in a paragraph or in a PDF form, and then send it out and submit it. Most organizations have trade shows or conferences, and they put out a call for speakers. They actually ask for you to raise up your hand, and what you have to do is actually answer that call. So that's my big takeaway on that.
Jameela, the reminder to make sure that you get your clips.
Yes, absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with clients when I was trying to help them create their reel afterwards. And I'm like, have you done any speaking engagements? Oh yeah, I did this, I did that. Well, where's the footage? And they don't have it. So wherever you're going, if you're at Digital Hollywood or wherever it is, and you want someone, make sure you bring someone to come along, even if they're recording it on their phone. Make sure you go to that producer. If you are lucky enough to get any kind of broadcast segment, and go to them and get their contact information. Say, hey, can I email you? When is this going to run? And make sure that you are constantly on top of collecting it, because you may not always be able to find it on YouTube, or it may disappear like you were talking about. So wherever you're going, if something's being recorded that you are on, that you're speaking at, make sure you get the person who is recording its contact information so that you can reach out to them and get that footage. So that's the best advice that I can give.
And I guess you can use it on Match.com later.
Are we going to see you at the Improv? Or Flappers or something like that?
I think we should end the Q&A hearing one of your jokes.
So we have to close up at 11:45. After that, you can definitely come up and talk, meet the speakers, but I wanted to make sure that we got your questions in. Does anybody have a question? If not, we have more things to do.
Come on, don't be shy.
Yes.
So for those of you who started your own companies or work with people who started their own companies, specifically in the media space, was there a desire to have a media startup first and then the idea came later, or did you the entrepreneur first identify the need and then say this media startup is going to fix this problem?
I'm going to do a quick one because right now I do have my own business, and it's always need first. So it's basically getting people to know what your competencies are and what your strengths are and what they can come to you for. So it's that brand building for yourself and then filling a need for sure, for me.
Any other questions? Yes.
This is like maybe a small question, but if you have a company brand identity and brand, how much do you present it yourself as your personal identity and personal brand identity, and how much is kind of that you are aware, you decide that because company brand is this, that you of course need to show it up, and this is how I live it and breathe it basically. So concrete examples, please.
So it's your personal brand versus your company brand, and how much of your personal brand? Natasha is personal brands to
Yeah, my personal brand, I think anyone that knows our company, the personal brand is steady, rock solid. So we have this base, but then also wild and crazy wonderful. So that's a juxtaposition, right? So those things don't usually go together, and that's the differentiation for our company.
And I think I mentioned this a little bit maybe before you had come in, but it was talking about being an extension of your brand at the same time, but also having a separate brand for yourself. So maybe having, distinguishing yourself by having separate social media profiles, as well. But when it comes to your company, I think Jen was talking about being cohesive, and that is about staying on brand. If you're going to post something, make sure it's on brand for what your brand is and not totally just off the wall. Does that make sense? Is that kind of what you were asking?
Yeah, it makes sense. And kind of then for you, what you told about the brand, wild and then kind of steady. So one example would be that your personality is either wild or steady or both, that you are in that sense.
I'm actually really laid back and humble and down to earth, and my company does wild, crazy, wonderful things. So that's kind of the excitement. I think people are they're confused and enamored. Maybe they could have both of those sides too. One other thing is with my memoir that I'm writing, it's going to be quite separate from my company because of the content. It's not that I want to keep them completely away, but the people that are spending millions of dollars with our company, sometimes I don't think, right now I don't know if I want them to know the intricacies of my life. So I'm going to put a wall there, see how long that lasts.
Heather's also writing a book.
Yeah, mine's called That's a Bold Move. And it's literally about sales life and the little funny stories of, the things I've come up against along my career. It's pretty fun.
I think the question you asked is actually a really important one. It's basically when does your personal brand stop and the company brand begin, and how do they mingle? And it's kind of a complicated question actually, and it really boils down to what does your audience need and what serves your audience. And depends on the type of business. So I think that, like PR-driven businesses, the principle and the personality and the authenticity of the individual would be really important. But if you're serving different needs for your audiences, if your company has a product, for example, that serves a specific audience, if it's a software solution, for example, that's then your personal brand. Yes, it's going to matter, but it's going to matter in a different way. So you're going to be the spokesperson for your company, and yes, you'll have to be authentic and believable and other qualities, but it's an extremely different equation depending on your business, the nature of it, and what audiences you serve and what you do for them.
And that's why I was asking concrete examples in your personal branding and in your personal cases.
I mean, my clients are everyone from, Nike to Netflix to Hulu to, these giant media companies. And me, personally, I curse like a sailor, I really love to have a good time, and that's what people love about me and why they love to work with me. But I have this sort of question I ask myself, what would Disney want? And again, because so on a professional aspect, it's not like I'm, posting nude photos on my or anything like that. But I think there's just I think there's this kind of this one side of the teeter-totter that obviously I am my brand and I am an extension of my brand. But I think what we're putting out there through the company socials and on the company website and stories and videos, is going to be okay with any of my media clients, any of my potential future customers. And on my personal side, the things that my friends are seeing, sure, I might, drop a few F-bombs here or there, or, talk about how much I drank a little too much last night, or whatever that might be. But it's, you have to find what is that question, or what is that distinction? And for me, it's, what would Disney want?
I want to let you know that we are going to put the video of this panel up on a blog that I have, which it's differentforgirls.com, and with the number 4, it's differentforgirls.com. You'll see videos from past panels with these topics, and I also put on resources that the speakers have given us. So the resources that were mentioned today will be in a future blog that has this video. And Erin has one more tip resource.
Can you repeat that again?
It's differentforgirls.com with the number 4. It's differentforgirls.com. Erin has how to look up the format of any company's email.
Oh yeah, so this is going back to the topic that Heather covered off on beautifully, which is networking and how do you get to the people. So certainly LinkedIn is an awesome tool, and as you heard, most of it use it here. I use it every day before going into an interaction and so on. But if you are looking to kind of cold email someone and you just don't know what their email is, there is a tool called hunter.io, and it is a free tool. And you could, if you know the format of the URL of the company, like Disney.com, you could type it in, like at Disney.com, if you know what the company's how to get to their website, and they'll tell you the format of the email for that company. And it's, I've never had it not be accurate. So basically, is it first initial, last name at company? Is it first name dot last name at company, etc.? They'll tell you the format. It's hunter.io, hunter.io.
Great. This is a resource that I'm going to be able to put on in the future that we don't have yet, but Jameela is doing an pretty good online course for startups.
Yes, for how to do your own PR if you don't have the budget.
Where are they going to be able to find that?
They will be able to find it at hustleandglow.com, which is hustle, the letter X, and glow.com. And I also wanted to talk about, to those of you who have startups, And I don't know what stage you're in as far as looking for accelerators or wanting to participate in accelerators, but she brought up, a pixel exchange. I think there's it's good to do your own research and look for the different type of accelerators that are going to fit your business. For instance, Comcast, NBC, Universal has a really good accelerator program for people that are in the media sector. There's some accelerators that don't discriminate, like they're non-denominational. They don't have a certain type of company that you have. You could be a wine company, you could be a digital media company, you could be an entertainment, you could have a pet company. So there's companies out there like that will take on your company. They do take certain percentages of them. Some of them will give you money to go towards your business. Some of them will give you mentoring. So there's all different types of accelerators. So it's worth taking the time to look at it and explore and see if any of them fit your business and what you're doing, and if it will fit the terms to what you're comfortable in terms of giving away a certain amount of your company or not giving away, taking a certain amount of money, and then considering that some of them will not give you money. So I would definitely say take a look at accelerators to see if anything works for you there.
One last from Heather on cold calling. Since even had you had some ideas on being mindful of people's time and being clear about your
I actually love cold calling because I think that the art of picking up the phone and reaching out to somebody is kind of a dead thing. And I always think that there's a friend on the other line if you are relevant. And if you seem pleasantly surprised, they don't always pick up their phone, but I'll leave a message at least once, and then I'll email, and it does work tremendously because so few people do actually make cold calls. So it does take a little time to research who you're trying to get. You need to be relevant, not waste anybody's time. So I get right to why I'm calling them, so they know that it's a reason. I'm not just, oh, hey, I'm making small talk. I really get specific about why I'm calling. I do have a joke on maybe that's.
Okay, go ahead.
So this blonde walks into Digital Hollywood. She's all peppy going, TGIF, TGIF. And Natasha says, SHIT. TGIF. Natasha says, SHIT. TGIF, thank God it's Friday. And she says, SHIT. Sorry, honey, it's Thursday.
Thank you very much. It's 11:45, so we need to close.
Thanks for coming out, guys. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.